Hello everyone, we are Team 3 and we choose Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. John Keats was born at 31st October 1795 and died 23rd February 1821. He was an English poet prominent in the second generation of Romantic poets with Lord Byron and Percy Bysshe Shelley. Although his poems had been published for only 4 years when he died of tuberculosis at the age of 25. They were indifferently received, but his fame grew rapidly after his death.
The poetry of John Keats introduced into English Romanticism a new element of Hellenism for that time, and a cult of beauty and harmonious enjoyment of life. Keats' Hellenism is reflected into his great poems, his Endymion and Hyperion.
The Ode to a Nightingale is one of the greatest masterpieces of British literature. This ode was composed by John Keats in just one day in May of 1819. John Keats was inspired by a nightingale whose nest was built near the house which he shared with his friend. In one morning, John Keats sat under the palm tree and wrote this ode when he heard the beautiful singing of a nightingale.
Main idea of this poem is conflict between pain and joy, life and death, mortality and immortality, and actual and vision. The main thing which John Keats conveys to the readers is that humans are mortal. The only way they can find immortality is to observe nature. In the poem, he sat in dark forest and experienced a new world that you can never see in the crowd. The only soul can bless you immortality and you can experience great things.
Here is a Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. My heart aches and the drowsy numbness pains my sense as soft of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dew opiate to the drains. 1 minute passed and Liz's words had sunk. 'Tis not true envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness, that thou light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beeching green and shadows numberless, singest or of summer in full-throated ease. Oh, for a draught of vintage that has been cool a long age in the deep delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance and provincial song and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm sauce, full of the true, the blushful hippocrene, with headed bubbles winking at the brim, and purple-stained mouths, that I may drink and leave the world unseen, and with the fade away into the forest dim.
Fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret. Here where men sit and hear each other groan, where a palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where a youth grows pale and spectres in and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow, and the leaden-eyed despairs, where a beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes on new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Away, away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by Bacchus and his pots, but on the viewless wings of body. So the dull brain perplexes and returns already with thee. Tender is the night, and happily the Queen Moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry face. But here there is no light, save what from heaven is with the breezes blown through verdurous glooms and the winding mossy ways.
I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, and what of incense hangs upon the boughs, but in embalmed darkness, dosage sweet, wherewith the seasonable months endows the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn, and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves. Darkling, I listen, and for many a time I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many amused rhyme to take into the air my quiet breath. Now more than ever seems it rich to die, to cease upon the midnight with no pain, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. Still would thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sword.
Souls not born for death, immortal bird, though hungry generations treads down, the voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and the clown. Perhaps the selfsame song that found a path through that heart of roof when sick for home, she stood in tears amid alien corn. The same that of times has charged magic casements opening on the foam of oaths and fairylands fallen. Very word is like a bell to toll me back from sea to my soul self. Adieu. The fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu, adieu, where plaintive answer fades past the near meadows of the still stream, up the hillside, and now it's buried deep in the next valley glades, was the vision or walking dream. What is that music? Do I wake or sleep?
William Shakespeare, Sonnet 98. From you have I been absent in the spring, when proud by April dressed and all his trim, have put the speed of use in everything that's heavy sought and left with him. Yet knows the lace of birds, knows the sweet smell of different flowers, and know that in the hue could make me any summer story tell, or from the proud love plucksome in the grew. Nor did I wonder as the lilies white, nor praise the deep vermilion and the rose. They were but sweet, but figures of the light, drawn after you, you passing of all those. It seems that winter still and you away, as with your shadow I will these did play.